Welcome to episode number 6, the Sound Check with Chase, and of course, Minnie. So glad that you are here for another epic episode and show highlighting our local country musicians. This one definitely not disappointing. This episode featuring Glen Rock, PA native, also 2025's best male country artist at the CPMAs, also a Navy veteran serving our fine country. Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman next to me, please raise a glass for the latest guest here, YouTube Nation. Welcome Jake Mach to the show. I brought my drinks, Jake. Even though the Phillies will probably lose tonight, I brought my drinks. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on.
This is kind of an album release party for you as well. You got a brand new album coming out here, of course, on the 14th. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I got to say, man, we brought the balloons behind me. Nothing says a big episode than bringing in balloons. We don't do that just for anybody. We have gone well over the budget here for this one, Jake, for bringing the balloons for your album release party, man. We appreciate your time.
No, man, thank you so much for having me. I couldn't be more stoked for the album to come out. And, thanks for getting the balloons. Every time I see them things, it makes me want to go back to when I was a kid and just suck the helium out.
We may do that later at the end. We'll get to your album release that's coming up here on the 14th here shortly. Dive into your music. You had an amazing 2025 already, with not only being named Best Male Country Artist by the CPMAs, but also, I guess the best place to start is at the beginning. Let's talk about the younger years. Your grandfather was always playing music when you were younger. Your love of music kind of got started there.
Yeah, man. My pop would always have a piano and a Yamaha guitar nearby, and on both of them, he would play boogie woogie. So that's what I grew up on my grandfather's side. On my mom's side, it was primarily like Toby Keith, Keith Urban, Kenny Chesney, and, as I started getting a little older, she started leaning a little more into pop, so, Boyz II Men, Michael Jackson, stuff like that. But I always resonated a lot with the country stuff because I could relate to it,
You're still a young guy, too, chasing that dream, Jake. Talk about your influences when you first started dreaming of that country music career as well. You just dove into a little bit of Toby Keith there, too. But just talk some about your influences of you growing up and people that impacted you to take on this country music world.
Oh, man. Growing up, I wanted to be Keith Urban.
Oh, yeah?
That's a good one. He would absolutely shred, and I play guitar, and it's back then more so I played like lead guitar parts and stuff like that. But I wanted to be Keith Urban. I got the whole haircut and stuff like that. I was invested. And then as far as, actually pursuing a career, Eric Church has always had a big influence on me as far as that goes. And then throughout, my career as it's been progressing, I start diving into different avenues of country and stuff like that. And where I've landed, I feel like really resonates with like the 80s and 90s era.
Sure.
A lot of Alan Jackson, stuff like that.
Your storytelling, we kind of discussed it months ago when we first met and had an interview. When writing songs, also singing those songs, they're two separate things, writing those songs and also, of course, singing those songs. It sets you apart when it comes to the writing aspect of it. From a lot of artists here in Central PA. It's one thing to sing that song, but the songwriting process for you, very unique when it comes to writing your original music. Your heart, your soul literally goes into each and every song. You can see that in every song that you sing. Talk a little bit about that too, Jake.
It's one of those things where when, you start out, you have an idea of, what you want to be and the music you want to make. And a lot of that is geared toward, who you look up to. Me, I looked up to Eric Church. So I wrote more in that vein. I'd say probably through high school, back when I guess Bird Country started being a thing, Florida Georgia line was like the next big thing. Back then it was kind of like, well, that's what I hear on the radio. And this was like right before streaming really kicked off. So you hear a lot of that on the radio and it's like, okay, well, that's the music that seems to be successful. Let's write some stuff like that. But as I got Spotify Premium, and after that, it was like, okay, now who can I dive into? And I dove into like early Jamie Johnson, like The Dollar, and Eric Church with Sinners Like Me and Carolina and stuff like that. And that's really where I started finding my own voice in my own music. And then I don't know at what point I realized that. I want to say it's been in the last couple of years. I really stopped writing music for others. I stopped writing music trying to sound like somebody. I started writing music to make myself happy, to where even if nobody else likes this song, if I play this song, I'm gonna vibe to it.
When it comes to that writing aspect of it too, like I said, you're unique in a different way than some artists here in Central PA. You really have kind of gone out on your own and really put that unique flair into your songs as well when it comes to the writing experience. Talk about when you write those original songs. Do you have to go into the corner of a room? Where do you go when you come up with those original songs, especially some of those newer songs that you got coming out here on that new album as well?
Yeah, it's pretty much the corner of a room or anywhere where there is nobody else. I need dead silence. Some people can hear, like, some people like to loop a track and then try to write to that. That's not at all how I work. For me, it comes from everything. It comes from, you'll be watching TV, you'll be listening to the radio, you'll be watching like doom scrolling or something, and I'll hear a word I like, or I hear a phrase I like, or something like that. And then I have this absolutely massive notes file in my phone. That's just a bunch of lines and ideas and concepts and words, or maybe a rhyme I thought of that I might want to try to work in somewhere. It's just a ton of that. And then it's not as simple for me as, it's nice to be able to sit down and a song just comes to you. I have a few of those on the album where like the song was written within an hour, 2 hours, cool, good to go. Um, but something that I feel like writers need to do is I think if you rely solely on the ones that come to you like that, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I think to
Sure.
really get the best out of yourself, you need to sit down and say, I'm gonna write something, and if it's crap, it's crap. We don't have to put it out, but we can put it behind us. So there's plenty of songs. There's way more songs that I haven't released than I have released.
So you're sort of like me when it comes to writing notes all along my house. I have these post-it notes all over my house scattered along because I forget things because I'm getting to be 50 years old. I'm getting to that point in my life where I just forget things of what I did yesterday. So I got these post-it notes everywhere. Same way with you, where you're jotting down notes into a notepad, and at some point in time, you'll get to all of those notes that you have listed there and maybe come up with a song.
Yeah, pretty much. And for the most part, I come up with lyrics first. I might have a melody or something like that I've hummed into a voice note, or some chords that are going through, or a lick I came up with, which is very rare because I rarely play like lead guitar anymore at all. It's mostly acoustic, and it's mostly stuff that I can play around chords with, just because that's what I play mostly.
Your voice is often described as soulful. A lot of people, when they describe Jake Mach's voice, it's soulful. Would you describe it that way?
I can see where that's coming from. Yeah, it's one of those things where, and my wife Mackenzie has pointed this out to me, and I can kind of see where she's coming from. Where you hear some people sing, and it sounds like they're singing a song, and then you hear other people sing where it's like they're feeling that song.
Yeah.
You got guys like Bruce Springsteen. He never has a great voice, but every time he sings, you feel like he means what he's saying. And I think that's a really underrated part of it.
Yeah, it's got to have meaning, and I think that's what sets you apart again from all the other artists here in Central PA. When you're singing, you can feel it in your voice when you're up on that stage or you're singing that song. It is really from the heart when you're singing it.
Yeah, there's a couple songs that whenever I play them out live, I'm like fighting back tears. I might sing a note a little bit flat because that's right when I gotta like hold in a
Right? Yeah, sucking the breath.
yeah.
If somebody said to you, Jake, describe your music, your sound, what exactly would you tell them?
Country music with bluegrass instruments.
It's a good way to describe it. It's a good way to describe it. You got a new album coming out here on the 14th. It's had to be there. I already pre-ordered mine. Let's dive into that. You have a
Thank
couple
you,
of
man.
new songs that are on there. A lot of new songs, I should say. Talk about the new album, what we can expect, the process of just putting that all together. And your good buddy Cody Tyler says it's an album that will make you cry, laugh, and everything in between. Will that happen with this new album when I get it here in the mail?
I hope so. It happens with me.
Yeah.
So I hope that resonates with other people. No, the it's a 16 song album, and I've always been an album guy. I've never been somebody that's like we need to put out a ton of singles and then eventually that turns into an album. I've always been somebody that backs like maybe drop a single or two for the album, let it marinate for a year or so, and then the album comes out and all these songs feel new because they are new. Um, but in today's streaming world, they say you need to have a song out every 8 to 12 weeks, I think. So that's kind of the mold I went after. And I will say it makes it a little easier to pay for because you're not paying for it all at once. You're
Sure.
paying as the songs are getting made, which, is a little bit nicer on that aspect. But
Right.
as far as the artistry of it, I I much prefer albums over putting singles out. So, we've been putting singles out since my Valley Tapes EP back in March of 23. So it's going on 2.5 years since I put like an actual project out. And people have always been asking me, especially like last year, they were, when you coming out with an album, when's the album coming out? Can I get these songs on CD? Stuff like that. And, it's coming. And then this year I made it a point where I'm like, I'm done with the singles. I need to like get this album out. And so some of these songs are songs that I started 7 or 8 years ago. The one I wrote with Cody Tyler, I started that 7 or 8 years ago. There's another one that hasn't been released yet that's going to be on the album that I wrote around the same time that when I was stationed down in San Antonio. And it's just a whole bunch of different things. That song in particular, I started that 7 or 8 years ago. It sat in a notebook. I didn't think twice of it. And I've always wanted to come back to it, for an album. And I finally got around to it, and I wanted to change the lyrics because, who I was back then, I wanted to change the lyrics, as to who I am now. And then once you get closer to finishing the record, one thing that always happens without a doubt with me is the record's almost done, and then I write one more song to throw on there. So I did that one. I was really, really, really happy with that one. It might be one of my wife's favorites on the album, aside from Weekend Up in Heaven.
And talk about your title too. Had to be there. It's a great title for an album. Just talk about how you got the name for that album, and then also discuss some of the songs of which ones did you pick to even put on the new album. Which ones did you leave off the album? Was it a tough decision? Was it an easy decision?
Oh man, it's never an easy decision. It's like you got like a whole list of your babies, and then you got a whole list of like songs that are almost finished, and it's like, do I go to with one of these or do I finish one of these? It's a lot of that. But one thing I wanted to make sure I had was diversity. I don't want all my songs to sound alike, and that's something somebody told me one time that made me really happy. Was every time I hear one of your songs, I don't feel like you're recycling an old song, and that means a lot because you hear some people, they got an 8-song album, 4 songs all sound the same.
Yeah.
And then as a person listening, you're kind of disappointed because you're like, even if you like all the songs, it's like, you want some fast, some slow, some middle pace, some that are, a little more fun, some that are probably going to make you cry. And I feel like I think I personally did a good job on this album, getting a little bit of everything. So there's something for everybody. For
Right.
the title tracks had to be there. And that was a song that was half finished, and it came time, it was the week of recording, and I was like, oh my God, I got to finish this song. It's the title track, but it fully encapsulates, I think, all the songs. It's a lot of memories, and it's a lot about how I grew up and the journey I've been on, and to really understand wholly all of it, you had to be there. But with
Right.
that being said, I do think that you don't have to be a fan of country music to love this album.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the new album, Jake. Your new song, "Weekend in Heaven." Let's get into that one. It's pretty much the ultimate tearjerker, man, that is out there on that album. For a guy that doesn't cry a whole lot, that would be me. You got me on this one when I actually heard it over on Facebook when you put it up there. This one holds a very special place for you. Talk about that song and how it actually came up to be a song on the brand new album as well.
Coming from someone that cries to songs a lot, it also got me. Um, no, it wasn't one that I sat down and said, I'm going to write, a song about missing people up in heaven. Um, I was just one morning, I remember I was home alone. I had my morning coffee. I had just taken the dog out, so it was dead quiet. And I just remember thinking about and missing the people in my family that are going on to be with Jesus. And, how cool it would be to just visit. And I understand that that's a song, concept that's been thrown around a lot. It's not a new concept, but it's something that I wanted to tell from my perspective and, in a way that I guess it hadn't been told in particular. Um, and I just remember certain memories coming to mind and getting thrown in there. Like one of the lines is and grandma was making hot milk cake inside. I don't know anybody else that knows what hot milk cake is. I'm sure there's somebody, but that was something that she always made and we always loved it. And ever since she passed away, I think my sister got the recipe and she's the only one I think that makes it. But, just little things like that. And, little things with my dad that he wasn't able to be here for, but I know exactly what he would say in that circumstance, or, you know, basically the whole song is I want to fill in everybody up there with what's going on down here, like they haven't watched the whole thing.
It is a cool song because a lot of folks will write songs about people that have passed before, loved ones that have passed before, and it's always about missing them. That's not what this song is about. It is really about almost them coming back for a weekend, seeing what you're up to now, enjoying that time that you have with them, and then kind of moving on from that is basically what this song kind of entails. And it goes into greater lengths. If you haven't heard it yet, you got to check it out on Jake's Facebook page and, of course, on the brand new album. But that song is just probably the ultimate song that a lot of folks can relate to when it comes to missing someone that they love, and not just putting the missing aspect in it. It's about them coming back and enjoying that time that you did have with them.
Yeah, and every time I play it, I let people know, like, what I hope you get out of this song is that it makes you think of somebody that you miss, and, you know, how it would go in your perspective.
It's a great song. It's on the brand new album that's coming out here on the 14th. Jake's going to play a little something for us. He's going to grab his guitar. He's going to play a little something, something. Talk about what you're going to play here, Jake, for us right off the beginning, where the song came from, and is it going to be on the new album?
Well, I'm going to be playing Weekend Up in Heaven.
There you go. It's
So
perfect.
that makes it easy. Perfect segue.
That is perfect segue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jake Mach.
I could spend a weekend up in heaven. I call to let 'em know I'm on the way. Stop off for a few bucks of unleaded. Point the headlights to the mountains overhead. I bet they'd hear me coming from a mile out, tearing up that golden gravel drive. I bet their mansion looks just like the old house, and Grandma's making hot milk cake inside. If God gave me a chance to see them angels, to sit down with them round the kitchen table, I'd tell them about the girl I found. They ain't seen it all pan out, from the front row seat out past the pearly gates. How their young man is doing fine, settled down to start a life, and we can't wait to have one on the way. Lord, I never fail to count my blessings. If I could spend a weekend up in heaven. If I could spend a weekend up in heaven. My dad would tell me, boy, how much you've grown. And you look just like I did when I was your age. We'd take a couple rides to Old Pond Road. He let me in on secrets he held on to. But he ran out of time before I could learn. And how he loves that girl that wears my diamond. How he knows that I'll be good to her. We sit down after supper, hey, Pop put on a game, and laugh about the mistakes that we made. And I tell him about my wedding day, like I ain't seen it all the way, from the front row seat out past the pearly gates. How their young man is doing fine, settled down to start life, and they should come visit us one day. Lord, I never fail to count my blessings. If I could spend a weekend up in heaven. We say our goodbyes, they'd wrap me up and say, Son, we ain't gone more than a prayer away. They fade off as I pulled away, but I know they'd see clear as day from the front row seat out past the pearly gates. How their young man is doing fine, settled down to start alive, and we can't wait to have one on the way. I talk to him each night when the sun's setting. But Lord, I never fail to count my blessings. If I could spend a weekend up in heaven, a weekend up in heaven.
Absolutely amazing, man. Absolutely speechless.
Thank you, man.
Speechless, speechless. Now, talk about that song too, Jake. Talk about, obviously your dad had a huge impact in your life as well in the country music world.
Yeah, man. So my dad, he was actually not into country music, believe it or not. That was on my mom's side. My dad was into what was it, Billy Joel, Joan Jett, 70s, 80s type of rock stuff. Or I don't know if
Sure.
you call Billy Joel rock pop, but that was his thing. But I got to live with him for a few years when I was little, and it definitely had an impact on me. He loved gardening. I remember he put a massive pond in the backyard. He would always take me to guitar lessons. He would always, make sure to let me know that it was okay to be a musician. And, every parent wants their kid to be a doctor or a lawyer, especially back then. But he let me know that it was okay. That this is what you love to do. It's what you love to do, and don't let anybody tell you can't do it.
Obviously, "Weekend in Heaven" is probably one of your favorite songs on that new album. Any other favorite songs on the new album, Jake, for you?
Oh, we try to pick one that I haven't put out yet. I think probably the title track "Had to Be There" is probably one of my favorites. It's a light, more fast paced song, and to contrast "Weekend Up in Heaven." I think one of my other favorites is more of a fast paced, fun, just like here's some stuff we got to do when we were little, and to get it, you really just had to be there.
When you released Valley Tapes back in 2023, your sixth studio album, anything that you incorporated into this brand new album that was different than what you put into Valley Tapes?
So Valley Tapes was, I don't want to call it a concept album, but it was a collection of stories that were either from my point of view or, towards somebody that I knew. And it was my first time working with my buddy Troy Angle, who's produced all my music ever since then. Man, that's a lot of songs. Um,
Right.
but yeah, and we were both from Glen Rock, and we recorded it in Glen Rock. So Glen Rock's the valley, so we called it Valley Tapes. There was a couple other titles I forget that we were, tossing around, and I forget what they are. But I just kept coming back to Valley Tapes. Um, it's an EP. It was 5 songs, and it's something you could put on tape.
And Grammy nominated Troy Angle. How was it to work with him? The story of how you guys met. I know we talked about it previously. Kind of an amazing story when you first met Troy Angle. Talk a little bit about that too, and talk about your relationship that you have with Troy. Did he do anything on this brand new album with you as well?
Oh, he did everything. Oh man, when I know you said you pre-ordered the CD, thank you. But when you get it on the inside, actually I got it right here. So here's the CD. There's the songs. And then over here is all the credits and stuff for writing credits, and then, you know, producing and credits and all the stuff like that over here. And it all says Troy Angle on it. Or at least 95% of it says Troy Angle on it.
Right.
But so how we met, I had just moved back from being in the Navy, and I had just put out my Indigo album. And up to that point, I had put out Songs That Got Me Here and Indigo. And those were both albums that I made and produced myself. And I was kind of limited to the instruments that I had. You know, I wasn't able to get a full drum kit or anything like that. I wasn't quite, hip to session players. And how much that would cost and stuff like that. So it was really what I was able to do. You know, I used MIDI drum kits. I used um, a lot of electric guitar, and you know, I played all the instruments for that. But I felt kind of hindered to what I was able to do, and I really, really was looking to steer my music more towards, you know, a lot of fiddle and pedal steel and stuff like that. And um, I'd heard about Troy Angle because he went to school with, I want to say my mom or my uncle, or maybe both. I think there was some overlap there. But my uncle, who was a huge music guy, would always tell me about this guy Troy Angle, who he knew about but didn't know, and he was such a great fiddle player, and he wailed on mandolin and all that type of stuff. And one day I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw a video of, it was like just a couple guys hanging out on the back porch jamming, a couple bluegrass guys, and I saw Troy do a fiddle solo, and I was just like, man, if this guy's
Just
close, I
work
got to
with
reach
him.
out to him. Yeah, I would love to
Right.
like do something with him.
Right.
I went on his Facebook and found out that he did session work, and then I saw something else. He also did demos for people. So like, if, you know, let's say you can't sing or you don't know how to do a song, you'd send your stuff into Troy. He'd make a whole demo for it. You know, he'd do the instrumentation and all that. And I want to say I messaged him on Facebook and I was like, hey, my name's Jake. You probably know my mom or something like that. I forget. This was 4 or so years ago. Um, any chance you want to go down and like meet me for coffee or something like that? And we ended up going down to this spot in Glen Rock called Simply Local, which is like a little shop. It's really the only shop in Glen Rock. But they had a little ice cream bar. They didn't have coffee, but they had soda. So we had a couple sodas, and I was just like, "Look, I'm looking to do this one song called Sticks and Stones. I think it would sound incredible with some fiddle on it." And I was kind of hoping you'd be able to do the whole thing. Like I saw you do demos, maybe something like a demo, but maybe a little, you know, more than that.
Right.
And Sticks and Stones, I as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh my God, I love this." I don't feel like I've ever made myself sound as good when I produced it. The fiddle sounds incredible. All the instruments are incredible. Um,
Right.
so from there, it was like, I want to do a 5 song project. Would you be open to doing that? And he's like, yeah. And then since then, it's just kind of like single after single. Like, hey, I got some more stuff. Any chance you're free to get to work? Like, yeah, come over at this time. And it's cool because he lives 5 minutes from me.
And
But
it's kind of taken off from there, which is awesome. Can't wait to hear your stuff on the new album as well. Of course, your fifth studio album, Indigo. It's loaded with sort of your roots, never forgetting your roots. My favorite song on that album by far, Home in a Hometown. It's a great song. A lot of folks, when they get to that next level of country music, they sort of forget about where they came from, the roots that they left behind when they got to be a big star. You, on the other hand, every album that you put out, you're never forgetting those hometown roots.
oh no, man, I moved back for a reason. And I love it here. You know, I want to raise kids here. And I do like that. So Home in a Hometown is probably the countryest song on that whole album. I felt a lot of that album felt like I was, you know, trying to write country music and playing rock music. But that was one of the ones where I didn't know how to play. I'm learning pedal steel now, but back then I didn't know how to play steel, slide, nothing like that. So I remember I just took my electric guitar and put a little riser on it and tried to use like a bar to figure out how to play slide guitar, and it turned out all right.
I would say it did. 2025 CPMA Male Artist of the Year. It's got a great ring to it, Jake. But talk about how you felt, man, when they announced your name for the Male Country Artist of the Year at the CPMAs. That had to be pretty awesome.
Dude, I didn't think it was me. Me and
Really?
Cody, no, yeah. So me and Cody over the past year have become really good friends, and you know we decided to sit next to each other at the CPMA, so that was pretty cool. Um, and we're both in that same category, and so I think I want to say I think he was to my right, and I had to. It was like the end of the row was my wife, then it was me, and then it was Cody. Um, but I remember them gearing up to say it, and I'm happy to be nominated. I didn't think I was going to win. So I'm kind of like, I got my hips shifted to like, you know, when you put your knees to the side to let somebody go.
Right?
I got my hips kind of shifted to like let Cody get up and go and, you know, ready to
Yeah.
clap. And then they said my name, and I just had like a little moment where I was like a real awkward, like,
Now what do I do?
yeah, pretty much. And
Right.
then, you know, you power walk up to the stage because you don't want to take up anybody's time too much. And I got up there and the whole time I'm thinking, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say?
That's got to be pretty awesome, man. When they do announce your name, you're not expecting it. It also has to take it up a notch of sort for you as well, knowing that you won that award. Does that mindset change at all after winning an award like that, or are you just still full steam ahead?
No, I don't really think so. I thought that it was nice to get recognized by my peers for, something I did, in the previous year. But at the end of the day, this coming year, and I got an album to put out. I was more thinking about like, what am I doing this year as opposed to, man, let's copy what we did last year. Incredibly grateful. I couldn't be more thankful. Honestly, it was something that when I first came home and I started doing music, the reason I found like other local artists was through the CPMA. So I had known about it, um, but and it had been a goal. I thought it'd be cool, one day to win one, but I don't think winning one necessarily changed my perspective.
And it's such an awesome honor too, Jake, to win the 2025 Country Male Artist of the Year award. Not many folks get that opportunity up against, like you mentioned, stiff competition, man, and for your name to be recognized. I just want to say, man, congratulations. It's definitely an awesome title to have here in
Thank you, man.
Central PA.
Thank you.
All right, man. Ready to lay down another song? We're gonna get some fun stuff here with Jake Mach here shortly.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have him lay down another song here. Talk about the song you're gonna play for us here, Jake.
So this one's Had to Be There. It's the title track. And this one's just kind of going over about what my childhood was like, hanging out with my buddies, talking about everything, cars, who's going to win the race, football, stuff like that. And it was just, me kind of having fun with it.
All right. Can't wait to hear it. Here's Jake Mach, folks.
I grew up in a little house on the outskirts of nowhere, where the screen door wasn't good for nothing, what with all them tears. Mama's pinched pennies, daddy split dimes, coupon cutouts and landline, walls wood panel, shirts wool flannel, fall chasing man old times. When we bust our backs, so that summer could feel more free, cuss and laugh, singing brown-eyed girl to a blue-eyed dreams, 10 feet high by first light, three-eyed hugs at sunrise, help a neighbor around if you knew they needed it. I didn't ask for nothing, it's just what you did. It's just some things you had to be there to get. You had to be deep in the weeds if you're gonna understand how we came up on sweat and blood, wasn't asking for a handout. Double dog dares and shine up signs. Oh, that bed to cover the fine. Talk Chevys and Fords, 8 and 24. Soaking up every bit of daylight. We bust our backs so that summer could feel more free. Cuss and laugh, singing brown-eyed girl to the blue-eyed dreams. 10 feet high by first light. Three-eyed hugs at sunrise. Help a neighbor around if you knew they needed it. I didn't ask for nothing, it's just what you did. It's just some things you had to be there to get. Still checking on our friend's mama, she was one of us. And she loves to remind me of the hellion that I was. And we bust our backs so that summer could feel more free. Cuss and laugh, singing brown-eyed girl to the blue-eyed dreams. 10 feet high by first light, and three-eyed hugs at sunrise. Help a neighbor around if you knew they needed it. I didn't ask for nothing, it's just what you did. It's just some things you had to be there to get. You had to be there to get.
Title track there from Jake Mach showing his brand new studio album that's coming out here on the 14th. The title track had to be there. Loved it. That's like a good old boy country song, man.
Thank you, man. Like I said, I was just having fun with it. You know, it was one of those where I think I wrote the first half of it, the first verse and the chorus, and then I let it sit for a while because I wasn't really happy with anything I was coming up with. And then when it came crunch time, I was able to finish it, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. And then Troy did his thing on it and just makes it like 10 times better.
Sounded awesome, man. Sounded
Thank
awesome.
you, man.
Before you were 20, Jake, you, of course, enlisted into the Navy as a hospital corpsman specializing in surgical tech. Thank you for your service in the military, first of all. But just sort of talk about when you started in the Navy. It sort of kicked off your solo country career and also how that shaped pretty much the rest of your life and how you look at things in life and also your country music right now.
Yeah, it had a huge impact, man. I enlisted when I was 19. I shipped out when I was 20. I had my 21st birthday, the first day at my first command. So it was pretty much like I showed up to Portsmouth, Virginia, right by Virginia Beach in Norfolk, and it was like, okay, who do I know here? And thank God I had a buddy that was there. And it was like, you said it's your birthday? We're going out. Let's go to Yard House. But no, it was first of all, it was a culture shock. Just being as the longest I've been away from home, and the farthest I've been away from home was when I was stationed in San Antonio. Um, and that's when I wrote my song "Dust on the Road," and I think that's really when I started listening to what I think of now is like true country music. Um, that was around when Cody Johnson was like really big in Texas, and he was, you know, it was still a couple years before he would make his way into mainstream. But I got put on to Cody Johnson while I was there. That's when I really started getting into like Stapleton. Got into some William Clark Green, some Aaron Watson, a lot of those Texas boys. But yeah, I was able to almost. It's kind of like you ship out in the military, you get stationed somewhere, and your whole life is ahead of you, and you know nobody really knows you from your childhood. It's you know who you make, and um, I was always rolling with different crowds throughout high school, and I noticed that once I got into the military, I was rolling with one crowd that was made of a bunch of different people. You know, you got people from up north, you got people from out in California, you got people from Texas, and everybody's into different stuff. But especially, and anybody in the military can attest to it. The whole group is going to be completely different, but we all just embrace everything together. It's all trauma bonding. Like I don't agree with everything my brother got going on. He don't agree with everything I got going on. But hey, we're there for each other, man.
And they always do say any amount of time that you spend in the military serving our country shapes a man. How does that influence some of your music that you're making today?
I think more so than just music, just you know, my perspective as a whole is you know always to be patient and see where other people are coming from. Because even if I grew up a certain way, you know, I'm going to sing about growing up a certain way, but that's not to say you know I don't feel for somebody that wasn't able to grow up like that, or you know, as much as you know, I can't sympathize with somebody who grew up somewhere else because I didn't experience it. I can empathize because like I had my struggles, you had your struggles, and that's something in my music that is just kind of like I guess being a little more inward looking and outward aware.
Over the summer, you got to do something pretty cool. You got to sing the national anthem at the York Revolution game. I got to tell you, man, next to Chris Stapleton singing at the Super Bowl,
Oh man,
this was probably the best rendition of the national anthem that I did hear. It's sort of a unique experience when you get to sing the national anthem. You don't want to add too much to it, and you still want to kind of keep the beauty of it still there. And I think you did just that with your rendition at the York
thank you,
Revolution
man.
game. Talk a little bit about that.
So I'll be honest, and I kept this on the down low for a while, but this is something that I've always avoided
Do we need a
doing.
breaking news sounder right now?
No, no, the anthem is something that I've always avoided doing because
Yeah.
if you like, it's one of those things you know it inherently, like you know the words to the national anthem.
Yeah.
But I've also been up there and forgot the words to my own songs. And if you forget the words to the anthem, or if you just you know have a brain fart or something, God forbid, everybody knows and everybody's mad. I guess it was kind of that fear of what if I do mess up? I'm never going to be able to live this down. But I'm a military veteran. I can't be messing up the anthem. I'm not even putting myself in that situation.
Do you ever want to put any flair into the national anthem or
No,
just sing it as it is?
no. I like to sing it. I can't stand it when people try to stylize it and do a bunch of runs. I do a few like tiny runs, but that's just it's not so much me trying to put it in there. It's just that's how my voice likes to get from one note to another. Like my sometimes a certain couple notes, my voice doesn't want to go from A to B. My voice is way more comfortable going A, C, D, B, and just getting down there.
When you reflect on your career in country music so far, Jake, is there a moment when you took the journey and just said, "Wow, I think this is really going to pan out"? Is there just one moment from your career that you said, "Yeah, I'm going to do all right here"?
I think when I first started playing, and more so as a writer than anything, when I started getting other people telling me that, I'd like to write with you sometime, that meant a lot because I view myself as a songwriter first and foremost, and I think that me being an artist is my way of just putting my songs out there. Excuse me. So I think having other people seek me out and being like, "Hey, I like your stuff. You want to write together?" I was able to we go down to Nashville every year for CMA Fest. But this past year, among other years prior, I've played the Bluebird Cafe, but this year, I went down, did the Bluebird Cafe. I did the Commodore Grill. Just getting in on different songwriters rounds and meeting other songwriters. And both of those, I did Weekend Up in Heaven. And after both of them, I had a bunch of people coming up asking, how long are you in town for? What's your next month looking like? And I had to tell them like, oh, I'm actually from PA. We're just visiting, and but I'm open to doing Zoom writes for sure. And then, especially early this year, late last year, I really made it a point to start co-writing with people. Up until really the end of last year, the only co-write I'd ever done was with my buddy Troy, and it was to finish one song, and that was the first co-write I ever done. And then this year, it was like we're gearing down. I'm finding people I want to write with, so I got I put out the song with Cody, wrote a couple more with Cody. Wrote a couple songs with him and Bobby Law and Bobby's band member Bill, and who else? Ellie Cook, Willoughby Hayes, Mac Berry. Just trying to write with a bunch of different people, and everybody's got their own style.
I talked about this with other artists here on Soundcheck with Chase. Where does Jake Mach see himself in 5 years? Is it the bright lights of Nashville, or are you content playing here in Central PA?
My and I feel like I always get weird looks when I say this. My dream is that I can write songs and other people can sing them, and that I can just kind of be in the background somewhere. And my thing has always been write the songs and write the songs and write the songs. And luckily, I've been blessed with enough talent to be able to go out there and sing the songs myself and make a living out of doing that, which is awesome. But I think I do like having weekends, and we want to raise a family, and it's hard to raise a family on the road. So I think write
Sure.
some songs, collect some mailbox money, and stick to that part of it. But
And you're
recently,
content that way.
yeah, but recently I've taken up pedal steel, and I think it'd also be really cool to be able to make a living playing pedal steel. Pedal steel and
Uh,
writing. I don't know if you know Chandler
yeah.
Walters. He wrote a lot of like Ernest and Post Malone type stuff, but he plays pedal steel for both of them. So maybe something like that.
Let's talk about your good friend Cody Tyler. When he was on episode number 4, he said you guys have sort of a bromance going on. I know you
Oh yeah.
played with Cody Tyler in the Gypsy Convoy over at Mickey's Black Box in Lidditz. Talk about that experience and just talk about the relationship that you two guys have. It's pretty much like no other here in Central PA.
He's one of them dudes where like I said, I first started, finding local artists through the CPMAs before I even started doing music. And that was right around when Cody had put out his Stare Your Demons Down album out. And I was like, oh, I might say something if this guy's up for CPMAs next year. And I told Ken, like, this guy, I like a lot of people's music. This guy it's something special, man. Like, I love his music. His sound is unique. He's got a voice like a diesel engine. And I tell him that to his face and he just laughs at me. But uh, I went to go meet him at the CPMAs, and he happened that year to win Album of the Year and Best Country Band. So, needless to say, he was a celebrity that night, and I didn't want to impose. Like, who am I? This is my first year here. You've been here before, and obviously you're doing pretty well for yourself. Have your spotlight. I'll find some other time to talk to him. So I was actually pretty intimidated. And then at some point, he reached out to me for he was putting together a Keystone Country Music Festival at Windridge Farm in Dallastown, and he reached out to me about being one of the openers. And I looked at my wife as soon as I got there. I was like, "Babe, Cody Tyler just asked me if I wanted to open. I'm doing it." She's like, "You got to do it." So that was the first time we actually got to like meet each other. I feel like we might have seen each other or something like that before then, in passing. But that was the first time we actually got to talk. And I remember he complimented my set, telling me I did a good job putting a set together because I do think there's definitely a technique to putting a set together. So that meant a lot coming from him. And I guess from there, I don't know when, at some point we just started talking and got each other's numbers instead of, messaging on Instagram and became bros. And then we wrote that song As a Rambler Goes Together and put that out. And that was kind of like our way of saying, hey, everybody locally, like, let's do stuff together. Nobody I feel like was doing collaborations. And that was something me and him really wanted to make a point of putting out there. Like, hey, we're all in this together. Let's do stuff together, man. It's fun. I can't really think of anybody that I'm sure there has been some, maybe not in the country realm, but, that does stuff like that. And then from there, it turned into we're writing songs together. Now we're writing songs with Bobby. Now we're doing, we do like song swap shows together where, you'll get us both for, instead of one of us for 3 hours, you get us both and we'll bounce back and forth and we'll do some songs together, sort of like a duo, but more of like two individual guys that are doing songs together. More like a writer's round type thing.
That night you talk about that night you played at Mickey's Black Box with the Gypsy Convoy. I'd love to hear it. You guys opened up for Silverado over there. Had to be an awesome show. Had to be an awesome experience hooking up there with the Gypsy Convoy.
Oh yeah, man. Like if you can't tell, I've been a big fan for a while. So I started learning pedal steel about a year ago, maybe like a year and a month or something like that. Uh, Troy had actually loaned me. I told him I was getting one and I had one on order, and he was like, "Well, until I get here, do you want to borrow one of mine?" I'm like, yeah, sure. I started learning on that. Then mine came in, and I've been playing on mine and posting videos when I had a little more time on my hands. And obviously, I didn't learn it so that I could play, in my room or something like that for the rest of my life. I want to be able to play on stage, and it was kind of like an unspoken thing. Like I knew I wanted to join Cody's band, but I didn't want to ask. And he probably had a feeling of like, maybe when Jake gets good enough, I'll ask him. But it was kind of an unspoken thing. So at some point, he was
Right.
like, we started talking about maybe me joining the band starting next year on pedal steel for a few gigs. And one day he just texted me, he's like, "How quick can you learn a 45-minute set?" I was like, "How quick you need me to learn a 45-minute set?" He's like, "Could you do whatever the date was for the Silverado show?" I'm like, "Yep, I can make that happen."
Sounds like an awesome relationship that you and Cody both share. I can't wait to see where it goes from here. We're gonna have some fun with you here, Jake. You're a Glen Rock, PA native. Glen Rock is known for its rich history. Back in the day of its industrial days, the railroad hub back in the day. Some awesome landmarks that are in Glen Rock as well. You have a favorite hangout in Glen Rock?
There's a statue. It's a bronze statue in the square of Glen Rock of the original carolers. And I'm in the Glen Rock Carolers. That's something that I hold dear to my heart, and it's a tradition that's been going on for a very, very, very long time. And you got to get invited in. And then every year we'll start at the square in Glen Rock, right at the street light. They shut all the roads down, and then we'll carol for about 6, 7 hours up and down all the streets of Glen Rock. And then around 6:30 to 7 o'clock in the morning, we'll meet right there in front of the statue of the original carolers, and we'll sing the doxology. And it's Christmas morning, so everybody else, we all go home. And I'm sure when I have kids, it'll be different, but we all go home and pass out for a few hours and then wake up and then do Christmas
That's
with
pretty
everybody.
awesome. That's pretty awesome. When it comes down to downtime, which I know you don't have a whole lot of, and you're
No.
not on the road writing or playing music, what would Jake Mach be doing? What does that look like?
Uh, well, recently it's been practicing pedal steel. Come fall time, it's usually trying to find time to hunt. I shouldn't say that. Trying to find time to sit while nothing shows up or shows up just out of range. Um, but yeah, I do a lot of reading throughout the year. I'm a big on sci-fi books, so I got a whole bookshelf of like Star Wars books, Dune, and then right now I'm into this series called Red Rising. Then I also
It's
read
a
a
great.
bunch of like nonfiction stuff. I kind of like
It's
reading about different histories, like over in like the movie Tombstone, reading about what actually happened, or like a lot of World War II stuff, like what was going on.
so you would consider yourself a history buff of sort.
Not as much as Cody. I
Yeah.
like knowing certain parts of history, World War II, or like right around the Wild West in like the late 1800s.
Would you classify you as a movie guy? And if you are, what is your favorite movie of all time?
I wouldn't say it. I'm a movie guy. My wife would 100% say I'm a movie guy. Um, I think all time, I'd probably go with Pulp Fiction.
That's a good one.
But one of them, what's actually been creeping into I don't have a top five. I couldn't tell you a top five because I'm too indecisive. But what I know is creeping up in there is if you've ever seen Knives Out, I don't know what it is, something about that movie. It's creeping into my top five.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It is a good movie. If you were not a country artist, Jake, what would you be doing?
Data scientist.
Scientists.
Yeah,
That's
also like AI, machine learning. I got my bachelor's in math, um, and right now I'm going to school. I'm going to Notre Dame online for data science, so like AI, machine learning, and stuff like that. So
that's
that's where
awesome.
a lot of my free time goes right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any other local artists, with the exception of Cody, that you are close with, you follow, and are just a fan of here in Central PA?
I'm a big fan of Ellie and Drew Cook. They're both incredibly talented musicians, and I've gotten to write a couple songs with Ellie, and I'd love to write a song with Drew too. He just happens to be busy whenever I'm writing with Ellie. Um, but they're just incredible. Drew shreds on guitar. That man is a bluesman through and through, and he's been branching into like bluegrass and country and stuff like that. And it's an awesome transition. Like it melds so well together, and he does such a good job at it. And for both, and then Ellie has more of like the country pop realm type stuff, and they both have really distinct sounds, but the writing is just incredible. And like they're two people that I want to write with more. I can write with Cody a lot more because we hang out a lot more, but I want to make it a point to write with Ellie and Drew more. Ellie more, Drew just in general. I'd like to write with.
A little bit about the show you guys have coming up here in Lancaster in a couple of weeks. You just referenced Ellie Cook. She's going to be there. Also, of course, Cody Tyler. You three are going to jam out in Lancaster. Talk about that upcoming show that you guys have coming up here.
Yeah, man, October 24th at the Susquehanna River Creative Conspiracy, or for short, the SRCC Studios. Tickets are available online. It's going to be a night with Ellie's going to be opening. I'm going to go second. And then Cody and his guitar player, Rafe Groves, are going to be doing sort of a duo thing to close out the night. But at SRCC, October 24th, doors are at 6:30, shows at 7. It's going to be an awesome time. It's a real intimate setting. It's perfect to, sit down and have us play acoustic guitar and while Rafe shreds over Cody's acoustic playing and just talk about the songs we wrote and tell some stories and those I think are the shows that I enjoy more than anything. You can leave the lights at home. I'm sure they're gonna have lights there, but like I've always been a fan of sitting down and hearing what's going in behind a song, not so much the glitz and the glamour or the pyrotechnics and stuff.
Almost similar to Ramble in the Woods that you guys just did a couple weeks back too.
Oh
That had
man,
to be a pretty unique experience. Just hanging out in the woods, playing good old country music. Talk a little bit about that too.
that was incredible. Now Cody has always hyped up Ramble in the Woods, and in recent years I haven't been able to do it yet, just scheduling conflicts. And I was finally able to do it this year, and it's a whole day event out in Birdsboro, PA. And it's this couple. Their name are Jerry and Rhonda Halteman, and they host live music, and they have a big stage out back in the Birdsboro forest, and it's such a great vibe. You're just chilling in the woods, listening to like some good country music. And I was one of I shouldn't say openers. It's a music festival, but I was one of the first couple acts to go on, and then I closed out the night. That was actually my first night playing steel guitar with them. So it was an incredible night. I was pulling double duty. Um, just hanging out with everybody. Everybody there was super nice. I got to hear a guy that might be one of the best songwriters I've ever heard. His name's Justin Clyde Williams. He's about the goofiest dude I've ever seen in my life, and he knows it, and he's super goofy. But the second he starts playing a song, it just hits you right in the chest. Like everything is just incredible. He actually just put an album out, so if you want to hear some good writing, Justin Clyde Williams just put that stuff out. Got to hear this guy Lucas Jagno and the Road Show. They're down from Louisiana. Another just awesome band that I can't wait to hear more music from. He had a song called Honky Tonk Heart. And he's from Louisiana, and you can hear a lot of that Texas influence in there. And that's the type of song that, I'd like to be able to write something like that. I just don't have the voice for that. I don't have a Texas country voice, but I'd like to put out, a few Texas style songs and some Texas swing. I told Cody the other day I want to put out a Texas swing song, and it's going to sound weird because I don't have a Texas voice.
I
But the
think you can
vibes
make it
will
work.
be there.
You can
The
make it
vibes will
work.
be there.
Ramble in the Woods. It had to be an awesome experience. Can't wait for the new album, Jake. So before we get into this or that, that's how we're going to wrap this up. Let's get all that important info out there. Where can people get the new album? Your website, all your socials, where they can find your music. Get it all out there. Most importantly, get that new album information out there too.
For sure. So album pre-orders are out right now. Just go to my website. It's right there on the front page. There's a link for a pre-order. We got them live and in person. Obviously, we just did a whole merch drop. We got brand new T-shirts, new hoodies, new crew necks, new koozies, everything. The whole rollout for the new album. The album's going to be coming out on Spotify October 14th, so it's a Tuesday. Is to not clash with how busy Fridays are with, music releases and whatnot. So if you got nothing better to do on a Tuesday morning, check my album out. It's 16 songs, ton of originals. We got a cover of a classic gospel song. We got an acoustic version of a song, a remake of a song that, I had put out years ago. It's just a whole lot of fun stuff, and I really think that whether you like country or not, you're going to find something on this album you like.
Can't wait to check it out. October
you,
the
man.
14th, this coming Tuesday, when that will be released. Jake, this is probably going to be the hardest part of the whole entire interview. This or that. That's how we're going to wrap this up.
All right, cool.
You got to pick one or the other, okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, man. Here we go. I saw some pics with the beard, without the beard.
Oh, man.
Is it with the beard or without the beard?
What do I like?
Yeah,
Oh, with the beard, man.
with the beard. All
Oh,
right.
man.
Sports question.
If I said anything other than the beard, everybody I know will be coming for me. I was clean shaven because I was in the Navy, and then the second I grew a little bit of stubble on leave, I'd go back and they're like, "You should put in a no shave shit so you can keep that." So we're keeping the beard.
Beard it is. Sports question. Football or baseball?
Football.
Breakfast or lunch?
Breakfast. Breakfast for lunch.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one. Or breakfast for supper, too.
Yeah.
Being from PA, Philly or Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh.
This one might be a tough one for you. Hunting or fishing?
Not hard at all. Hunting.
No fishing, huh?
I like fishing, but after a while, I realize that I'm not good at it, and I just get frustrated. At least, like with fishing, you put the line in there, and you're just you're hoping. And I've tried bass fishing because it's a little more involved. Just still nothing bites, so you feel like you're doing a lot of work. With hunting, then and there, like you can hear when the deer's coming up. You kind of have indications, so at least when to get your hopes up. With fishing, it's just keeping your hopes up the whole time. And for me, it's with no reward. I got to get with Trent Becker. That man can fish.
Yeah. I wish I had the patience for either one of them, but I don't. I have zero patience for hunting or fishing. Last one, Jake. Since you're a PA guy, you should know these two amusement parks. Is it Hershey Park or Knoebels?
Oh, man. You know what? Let's go Knoebels. They got the wooden roller coasters.
Jake, this has been so much fun, man. A big thank you for the time. Wishing you much success down the road, of course, and best of luck on the new album releasing here on Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out here on episode number 6 of Soundcheck with Chase. And, of course, Minnie, man, I appreciate the time.
No, thank you so much for having me. I was excited to be here, excited to put the album out, excited to talk about it, and excited to hang out with you again. So thank you, man.